How do you feel like, I mean, we talked a little bit about this election kind of being the podcast election, the untraditional media election, essentially. I think that's a big reason why Trump won.
Possibly.
And I think that this isn't going to be like a flash in the pan moment. I feel like moving forward, obviously, the way they're opening up some of the White House access, whether you agree with it or not, to non-traditional media platforms. But, you know, channels such as yourself and Joe Rogan and, you know, the power of these platforms and the long form conversations is finally kind of being recognized. It can't be ignored. Do you feel like we're just kind of at the tip of the iceberg of new media? Because no one's watching CNN, respectfully. No one's watching. I mean, like it's kind of background fodder. You know, it's on.
I mean, people are watching the Diddy and Cassie video on CNN.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I don't think it's not. I don't think that people are not watching CNN. It's just CNN has competition now, so CNN has to step it up. Whereas before, they didn't really have to step it up. They were just ubiquitous.
But it's almost like their format of media is, it's not the lack. I mean, look, they're restricted by commercial breaks and time slots and all this, as opposed to
on TV they are, but not on YouTube.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, they try to do the streaming shit, and I feel like they're but I just feel like there's this. I feel like we're just getting into this, like we're the new. Like, obviously, new media has been a thing forever, but in terms of like the long form conversation, it has to be respected, and it you can't hide in those conversations.
Yeah, I mean, up until this era, it just wasn't possible to do long form conversation because it was a TV format or a radio format.
Right.
But now it is. And, you know, but there's now a lot of people doing that. It's like, it's crazy that, like, I have to compete for interviews with, like, Paul George, you know, who's an all-star basketball player.
Currently in the league.
Stinking
it up on the Sixers, respectfully.
Right, but still, it's Paul George. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, how do you compete with Draymond Green?
I got to compete with Draymond Green. I got to, you know, compete with YG, who's doing podcasts.
I think that's over. I don't know if he's still doing it.
Okay, but I'm saying,
but for sure.
He had a run.
Yeah, he had Lil Wayne.
He had Lil Wayne.
Episode 1.
Like,
Wayne don't do interviews.
Right. But it's YG. So it's like, I got to compete with people who have closer relationships than I do because they're peers with some of these people, with the people that they interview. So it's just like, yeah, it's harder, but, you know, but that's just life.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at the people who, because a lot of artists, like you could, everyone's going to try to start a podcast in the next 5 or 6 years. It just is what it is. It's a cash grab for a lot of these folks. But you look at like Drink Champs and the commitment. It was a commitment to this concept and to this, you know, idea, and it's worked. Joe Budden, you know, like we can go. I mean, obviously Joe Budden's not an interview-based platform per se,
but he does interviews.
No, he does, but it's not based on interviews, you know.
Right. Yeah, and shout out to Joe because I think Joe is like one of the only figures in the space that's done well without constantly getting guests on his show. Right. Him and his own crew of people, the Melissa Fords and the other guys that are on there, you know, and the Queen's Flip and stuff like that have created a you know, a platform that doesn't require guests because every other major platform that we talk about is all based on major guests.
Right.
Gilly, Drink Champs, you know, my show.
Yeah, my show is guest driven.
It's all guest driven. So Joe's in a much better space. And this was sort of the whole thing of me starting the Vlad TV YouTube masterclass, because this is something that's not going to be guest driven. This is actually, you know, the guests are sort of, they add to it. It's information driven. But it's information driven and is based on actual subscribers, people who pay, you know, $100 a month to get actual serious information. And think about it, like this over time could actually eclipse
Vlad TV.
The interview part of Vlad
right.
TV.
Yeah, I mean, at $100 a pop, if you get, you know, I mean, you just do the math. There it is.
You do the math, exactly.
And it's a subscription thing, and, you know, as we know.
And it's monthly. You know, I mean, let me tell you, like, the Vlad TV $5 membership makes more money than my Facebook, my Snapchat, and my Spotify combined.
Wow.
Think about that.
Do you use Social Lemon for your Snap show?
Social Lemon actually handles my Snapchat.
They do my shit too.
As well as my Facebook.
Shout out to Dean.
Yeah, shout out to Dean.
Those Snapchat checks are lovely too. They're great.
I mean, they're
not bad.
They fluctuate.
They fluctuate.
They
But,
fluctuate.
You'll be surprised. You're like,
listen, man, it was. I have to do no work, and I get a check.
dude, I just had my biggest month last month, and I was like,
oh, really?
all right,
Yeah.
let's go Snapchat.
Yeah.